Do you hear that? It's the sound of week 8 closing in on us. Okay, I was going to try and do a ghost story for Halloween, but that just sounded really weird, and I'm just a loser. But it's week 8 of the NFL season, and we are ready to talk about our studs and lineup build for the main slate. We have a whole lot to cover, so let's get into it. If you've never been here before, welcome in. I appreciate you stopping by the channel. My name is Bradley with Allaqcess Sports, and over the past few years, we have been helping people develop, hopefully, better Draftkings lineups. Now, I say hopefully because we all have our misses. But our goal on this channel is to identify people that are going to get 4 times their points per dollar spent. And what I mean by that is if there's a guy that cost $5,000, I want to get 20 points out of him because we get $50,000 in our wallet. The ultimate goal is to hit 200 points because that is cashing every single week without fail. So if this is your first time, welcome in. Good to meet you. Go ahead and leave a thumbs up if y'all like this style of video and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss another one. We're going to go through our studs, which are our favorite plays, those high-end guys that we really want to get into our lineups. And then at the end, we'll probably put together a little bit of a lineup build using some of the guys that we talked about in our sleepers video that's already been published. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'm always checking right here on the video, or find me on Twitter. All of that's down in the information below and across the top of your screen. Starting things off at quarterback. Now, I feel like everyone's either going to get Tua Tagovailoa or they're going to go Sam Ehlinger. Right? Those are probably the 2 most popular plays this week. So if you want to be different, don't pick those guys. Jalen Hurts at $8,300 is a really good play. He's in a good spot against a bad Pittsburgh defense. Well, what we assume to be a bad Pittsburgh defense, but it feels like they've actually shown up the past few weeks. But at $8,300, that might be a little bit too expensive for me. Kyler Murray's in a good spot. Dak Prescott hasn't looked great since coming back. Again, Tua Tagovailoa probably going to be number 1, maybe 2 on the ownership projections. If you get him, you're hoping to have one of these games, right? The 43-point games. You're hoping to avoid the 15 or, if you got injured, the 3-point games. That's what you definitely don't want to see. And I think Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Waddle, if he plays, Mike Gesicki, I think all of them can still have very good games without Tua having to have a great game. So you can still get 20 points out of Tua, but Tyreek Hill could put up 25 to 30 points, meaning you don't necessarily have to have him if you plan on playing Tyreek Hill. One person that not a lot of people are talking about is Kirk Cousins, but that's probably because he does have a very specific ceiling. If you go to look at some of his games, he's never really scored a lot of points, 19, 11, 8, 13, 23, 16, but they're high on the implied team total. They're going to be putting up a lot of points against Arizona. We've seen teams put up a lot of points against Arizona. I would love to see Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, almost called him Justin Timberlake, combined for a big game. Now at $6,100, that's not too big of a bite. But when I'm only making a couple of lineups, I have to be very specific, and I don't know if I love him yet. Daniel Jones is a guy that not enough people are talking about, but I think it's popping up more and more. $5,700. He has that huge rushing upside, 31, 14, 12, 21. He's doing a lot with a little. He doesn't have a whole lot of receiving options, so it's going to Saquon Barkley, and he's getting it done with his legs. In the past 4 games, he has 3 rushing touchdowns, 107 yards, 37, 68, 79 rushing for Danny Jones. That's massive upside for people that want a running quarterback like a Kyler Murray, like a Russell Wilson back in the day, like a Josh Allen. Now, he's not necessarily going to put up those 35, 40-point games, but against the Seattle Seahawks defense that's absolutely terrible, we could see a big game from him and Saquon Barkley. And now, if you've watched the sleeper video, you know that we already like P.J. Walker and Sam Ehlinger, as do many other people. I personally would prefer Walker over Ehlinger just so I can be different. There are a lot of running backs to like this week, so be very specific in what you choose. Derrick Henry, probably going to be popular. I think Saquon Barkley is probably going to be the most popular play at $8,100 from those top 5 running backs. He's going to be the most popular. Maybe not the most popular on the slate because he is a little bit more expensive and some injuries have popped up. But Saquon Barkley at $8,100 going up against the Seattle defense, who again is giving up a ton of rushing yards a game, 150 rushing yards a game. Go back, see what he's been able to do. 110 against Jacksonville, 83 against Baltimore, 70 against Green Bay, 146 against Chicago. Dallas, who has a very good defense at times, but Saquon Barkley at $8,100 might be a little bit out of your budget. If so, there's a nice guy to pivot to here, especially if Darren Waller is out. There's a guy that I'm looking at, and it's Josh Jacobs. It's going to save me $600. Yes, he's probably going to be a popular play as well. Don't let this number 11 opponent rank scare you. If you click Josh Jacobs and you go to see some of the matchups, they're still giving up 123 yards per game rushing, Plus, he has the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. It doesn't matter the game script, he's going to be involved. You look at some of the other guys, DeAndre Swift being deemed healthy, he's going to get a lot of love. Miles Sanders should get a significant amount of love. Kenneth Walker just been through the roof good thus far, going up against the Giants defense that kind of came out of nowhere. Tony Pollard is a guy that everyone's like, hey, you got to be big on him, right? Ezekiel Elliott's gone. You gotta hammer home Tony Pollard. Listen, you do whatever you want. I can tell you right now, I will not be playing Tony Pollard in my lineups. 2 reasons. Number 1, I think he does have a ceiling. And number 2, I think he's going to be too chalk. If he does fail, I'm going to be on the winning side of the 50% that doesn't draft him. And that's a chance that I'm willing to take. Raheem Mostert's in a really good spot, but obviously I'm not the first one to tell you about him. Eno Benjamin is going to be in a really good spot against the Minnesota Vikings as well. Michael Carter. Just because they brought in James Robinson, they're not going to get James Robinson involved immediately from the New York Jets perspective, but he could get maybe 75% of Breece Hall's normal touches. Sprinkle in the other running backs. Michael Carter should be in line for a good game, but he is going up against the New England Patriots, who just have a good defense. Bill Belichick is one that I never want a game plan against, and I don't really like to pick against the Patriots. There's a couple of big names on this screen that I'm looking at and I'm very interested in. Again, if you saw a Sleepers video, you know that I'm all over Deontay Foreman because Chuba Hubbard is out. So that leaves Carolina with Blackshear, who was brought in for his kick returning ability. And he's going to be spelling Foreman in the backfield, going up against the Atlanta Falcons. On the flip side of that game, Tyler Algier. I've heard it pronounced 4 different ways. But I think most people are going to be in this ballpark. If you look and start with Saquon Barkley and you wrap things up kind of with Dameon Pierce, maybe they go down to Tony Pollard. But if people are going Tony Pollard, I'm not really concerning myself with that. I'm going to be more interested in stealing one of these really cheap guys, probably getting Deontay Foreman and maybe pairing him up with Saquon Barkley in a game that he should have plenty of touches against the Seattle Seahawks. Wide receivers, you can kind of take your pick of the litter from the top 8 guys that are actually going to be playing in the game. Deebo Samuel's out. Even more love for Christian McCaffrey, or fade him because defenses will be focused on him and go the way of George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk. Cooper Kupp in that game, he's going to be a ball hog. He's a target hog. We all know it. You don't need me to say anything about it. I mentioned this earlier. I really like Justin Jefferson this week. I'm looking for him to have one of these 13 target games, double-digit receptions. It feels like every time he has a down week, the next week he comes back even stronger. And I would love for that to be this week, one of those big 25, 30-point games out of him. $9,100 is a little bit expensive, so I'm going to have to cut some pieces elsewhere. If I'm going down and getting P.J. Walker with DJ Moore, or I'm cutting down at the tight end position, which can be very cheap this week, and grab one of those cheap defenses, maybe you can fit him in. But the most popular one that I'll be looking at for my lineup is going to be Tyreek Hill because it saves me another $600. Tyreek Hill, obviously the focal point of that offense. Tua just has to throw it up and hope Tyreek is fast enough to run underneath it, and that seems to be working for him. You have a good week, a bad week, a good week, a bad week, a bad week, a good week. Hopefully this week is going to be a good week. They don't generate a lot of pressure. Tua is going to have time to run around there in the backfield and wait for Tyreek Hill to get down the field. I know a lot of people are probably going to be on Michael Pittman Jr., just because they are going up against Washington, who hasn't been very great against the pass. But I'd be more interested in Alec Pierce in this one. $7,200 is a bit much for me to bite off. Again, you're looking for him to get 21 points, and he's done that twice this year. But those were on weeks where he was an absolute monster with the targets. And Jonathan Taylor being healthy, I think is going to eat into that a little bit. Having a young quarterback, you're probably just going to want to have him turn around and hand the ball off rather than put him in a challenging position to complete big throws. One guy that I did kind of skip over is going to be A.J. Brown. I'm not really interested in him. Again, it is against Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd be more interested in Devonta Smith, who feels like he's converting more of the passes that are coming his way. 5 for 5, 10 of 11, 3 for 4, 8 of 12, 7 for 7. If you want to go look at A.J. Brown's numbers, it feels like they've been in very, very contested situations, and it's just not converting at this point. Go to his game log, 5 of 8, 3 of 7, 5 of 7, 5 of 10, 5 of 8. He's just not getting as clean of looks as Devonta Smith is. So I would prefer to go with Smith, especially with A.J. Brown being at $7,700, and you go find Devonta Smith at $6,300. It's massive savings in the same game with a team that has a very high implied team total. Matter of fact, if I just jump one screen ahead and you go get Dallas Goedert at $5,000, I don't love it, because I do think you can absolutely pay down for a tight end this week. But getting Dallas Goedert, 8 of 9, 5 of 6, 3 of 4, 5 of 6, he's obviously involved in the game plan. He's involved heavily in the passing offense. I look for them to do that again against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chris Olave could be a good pick out of the slot for this New Orleans Saints offense. I would also look the way possibly of Marquez Callaway, who's super cheap, and Traquan Smith is filthy dirt cheap this week. We talked a little bit about DJ Moore being vastly underpriced and undervalued. If you saw the Sleepers video, we talked about it, averaging about 9 targets a game over the last 4. If you want to include the last 5, you can, but 6 before that. And then it kind of bumped up, especially this week with CMC being gone. They got him involved a little bit more in the screen game, just wanting to get the ball in his hands. He is their best playmaker, easily their best playmaker, I should say. As a Panthers fan, I would know all about that. There's a lot of injuries with the Detroit Lions, specifically at the wide receiver position. Yes, DeAndre Swift is back. However, their big play guys, their big play receivers, kind of out right now. So might want to look the way of Josh Reynolds, even Khalif Raymond, and probably TJ Hawkinson. Not Tyler Hawkinson. I don't know who that is. The Las Vegas Raiders going up against that New Orleans Saints defense. Be weary of the injury report that came out. Davante Adams dealing with a little bit of an illness. Mac Hollins has been popping up over the past few days on the injury report. Currently, limited participant in practice. He could miss time, which would leave the door wide open for Hunter Renfrow. That's not a slam dunk play because I don't know if he can be the number one guy, but specifically if he's playing in the slot, there's a huge opportunity for him and Darren Waller, a healthy Darren Waller if he plays. And then I know it's not those high-end players. They're nothing expensive here, but Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, going to see an uptick in targets. Braxton Berrios probably going to slide into the slot with Garrett Wilson moving out wide. That's just a theoretical thought that I have. I think all 3 of those guys are going to have elevated weeks, but again, it is against the New England Patriots. Like I said, we're going to put together a little hypothetical situation with this lineup. Starting with Saquon Barkley and Deontay Foreman. I really like both of these guys. Tyreek Hill, favorite wide receiver of the week. Devonta Smith, I kind of alluded to the fact that I like him more so because I just think he converts more catches per target than A.J. Brown does. I have Noah Fant in there right now. I don't necessarily love it, but in the event that DK Metcalf misses time, or Tyler Lockett, who's also listed as questionable at the time, if either one of them miss time, Noah Fant and Will Dissly will probably have a little bit more involvement in this Seahawks offense. Brandon Ayuk at 6,100 just to be completely different, because if you don't like Brandon Ayuk, then yeah, you can go get your boy Tony Pollard. Maybe you don't want him and you want to be a little bit different, even though he's probably going to be 50% owned at this point now. Raheem Mostert is there. Michael Carter is there. Chris Olave against the Las Vegas Raiders. There's a lot of options here in the 6,200 range. If you want to pay way down and get someone like a DJ Moore, you can go grab him, upgrade your tight end, upgrade your defense. It feels like they do struggle a little bit at times with the linebacker position. So Irv Smith Jr. going up against Arizona, I think could be an advantageous matchup for him. And yeah, if you're one of those guys that wants to pay down from PJ Walker, which is surprising to say, and you want to go all the way after Sam Ehlinger, wherever he may be, let's go find him. $4,000. Yeah, that's going to save you $1,400. Well, then, at this point, you do you. Go get all the expensive guys and hope Sam Ehlinger gets you 15 to 18 points, because although plausible, that's probably the best outcome from him is 18 to 20 points. So again, just as we kind of move around and mix and match some of these things, there's a lineup that could work. I've listed a couple for you, but we're going to put out what I believe is going to be our starting 5 over in Patreon. So for everyone that goes above and beyond in support of the channel, man, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. People use that Patreon kind of as a tip jar. Best of luck to you this weekend. Patreon comes out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with our player rankings, injury report, weather news, because there is a couple of games that have a little bit of weather going on, including the possibility of rain in one of those New York games. But that'll be out tomorrow morning. So best of luck to you. If you like this format, let me know in the comments below, and go watch the Sleepers video for your chance to win a $20 Millionaire Maker ticket.